Obviously, during the Christmas season, people are under more financial pressure. Obviously, families are coming together more. And we see usually January time an increase in referrals. So what we're trying to do is get people to be aware of what's actually happening or could be happening in their own family environments and understand what to look out for. Because whilst we see it as a joyous time and a celebration time, actually for some people it's actually it becomes a difficult time, because obviously people expect you to be joyous and happy, and then there's that pressure to be so, and then when you're more isolated because you are in that family environment, you haven't got those escape routes that you would normally have, and your normal life kind of goes on hold. So it seems to exacerbate situations that wouldn't necessarily be there at any other time of year.
And for friends, family and neighbours even, what are the signs that we can be looking out for anybody that is going through a difficult time right now?
It's just looking out for changes in behaviour. So somebody who's normally quite outgoing or friendly, wants to go out, all of a sudden doesn't want to do those things, or they're with their family or their partners and they seem to be a little bit afraid of speaking how they normally would, or they seem to be frightened of a member of the family. It doesn't always have to be that partner. It can be within the familial setting. And it's just making sure that they are looking to see just those changes, and as we put in the press release, if it doesn't seem right, maybe just keep an eye and maybe give us a ring and just to ask us some questions. Does this sound right to you? Don't be frightened to ask questions of us as well, because we want to be there to support.
I suppose typically as well, people might think the signs to look out for are physical, marks on the skin and the face, that kind of thing. But as you've explained in here, domestic abuse, elder abuse, it isn't always physical, is it?
We actually have to say that the majority of our client referrals are for coercive control and emotional and financial abuse, not the physical. The physical signs usually are much further on into that domestic abuse relationship. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. There are those physical signs, and obviously you do need to be aware of unexplained markings. But it's the belittling, it's the emotional abuse, taking the mick, but it's a little bit more aggressive. It's a sustained pattern of behaviour. It's not just an isolated one-off comment. It's actually what's driving behind that, and how is that person reacting to those comments. And then it's just being aware and maybe taking the person aside if you get the opportunity and actually ask them, is everything okay? You don't seem yourself. It's those questions. And then obviously if someone does disclose, it's believing them, and then, don't try and give them advice. Don't try and tell them to leave. It's, okay, what can I do to help you? And obviously we're here at Victim Support to actually help with that.
If you do approach someone and do try to offer that advice, but still they're closed off, but you can sense that there's something wrong, what steps should you take there? Because some people might feel that they don't want to get too involved, or they don't want to meddle, I suppose. You
have to feel that the situation's right to ask. You've got to be in a position where it's a quiet environment and you're actually able to give them the attention that they need. So don't do it as a rushed conversation. Don't do it. Always do it in person. Try not to do it via text or phone call, because you need to be able to pick up on body language as well as what they're actually saying or not saying to you. So we want to. It's not being frightened to ask the question, and there's ways of asking the question. And if you don't feel comfortable asking that question, maybe give us a call and we can give you some pointers on how to ask those questions. But it's asking, is everything okay? You don't seem yourself. Is there anything I can do? And what do you need? And then there's lots of different ways you could hold. If they are in a position where they do feel they'll want to leave at some point, hold an emergency bag for them, keep some stuff at your house, or help them move if that's what they want to do. But like we said, you don't judge. Don't say you must leave that relationship, because there'll be a lot of reasons why someone can't leave, due to financial reasons, children. So it's just saying that you're there for them when they need it, and offer to go to appointments with them, make the call to us and say that we've got their consent. And if you're obviously in emergency situations, if you're in physical danger, then obviously call the police. There is both the 999 number and obviously the headquarters number, and start that process and get them the support that they need.
And if I can ask a bit more about what we deem elder abuse as well, because of course some of the most vulnerable in our society, those of a senior age. So how does that typically manifest, and what are the signs to look out for there?
It's fairly similar. I mean, elder abuse, a lot of it is that coercive control. So it's sudden changes of behaviours around people. And then from a financial point of view, it's a sudden change to spending patterns, somebody getting overly close. It's just, you know that person, especially if it's a family member, you know that person very well, and you see a change. Is it something that's physically happening to them from a health point of view, or is somebody just being different? And, you know, if all of a sudden they're wanting to go to the advocates to change the will, or someone else has got power of attorney put in place. It's just being aware. I mean, obviously we don't want to scaremonger and that, but and from a physical point of view, again, it's unexplained injuries. You know, they may say they've fallen, or they, and obviously if that's what they're telling you, you do believe, but just keep monitoring, but don't intrude.
You mentioned about January before. Of course, we put this out before Christmas, but why is January particularly tough? Is it that financial aspect as well? People say it's a long month, don't they, because of where we get payday and just the length of January in itself? It's
actually as a result of Christmas. People will make do, and people will put up and potentially shut up over that period, because they want, especially if there's children or big family events, they want everyone to have a good time. But underneath it all, they're just literally putting it all on hold. And then once the children go back to school and work life starts to commence again and normal day-to-day life starts, they actually then want that support and help. So that's when we do see that spike, usually January. We can pretty much double our figures on a January to the rest of the year. That's historically how it's gone.
Right. Looking back over 2025, how has the year been for victim support at Isle of Man? And 2026, what are you looking forward to? But let's go back this year.
Okay, so 2025, it's been a busy year. We're seeing similar numbers of referrals, probably actually a slight increase on the previous, on 2024. We've operated and worked through those referrals as efficiently as we can, and obviously in a caring way. We've actually just adopted a new way of working to help people work through their own situations. So we're using a tool called Outcome Star, and especially the Empowerment Star with those with domestic abuse. So we're going to be getting to grips with that in the new year. We have a new member of staff starting in January, which we're really looking forward to her coming on board. And we're hoping to run a conference in summertime, and that'll be a multi-agency approach to that, just to start highlighting more issues around the coercive control, perpetrator intervention, just to try and broaden that work. Because obviously with the UK government just releasing the Violence Against Women and Girls strategy yesterday. Obviously, I'm working through that at the moment. We'd obviously want to look at what our response to that is and how we can adopt some of the practice from the UK into the island as well.
What kind of an impact do you think that will have over in the UK to begin with?
Well, it's quite interesting seeing that they're going to be doing work in schools with boys and misogyny, and obviously the more interventions we can do at an earlier age and change those behaviours, the better. We do operate the NSPCC DART programme on the island, which is working with mum and child to rebuild relationships after domestic abuse, and that part of that is to help a younger person understand that what they've experienced is not what we'd call normal behaviours, and that's not how a family and how a relationship should be. Obviously, we don't say there's normal, because there's no such thing as normal. Your normal is very different to mine, but it's about healthy relationships and what that looks like, and how that perpetrator behaviour and that domestic abuse behaviour isn't correct behaviours. And so we try and do that work with young children down to about the age of 7. So it's a lot of work. And then I know the Children's Centre go in and do the day programme with secondary school students. So there's a lot of work we are trying to do, and it's just establishing that. We're hoping to see a multi-agency approach to domestic abuse become formalised during 2026. So we're working closely with Department of Home Affairs and the police and probation on that to try and get that to fruition this year through the Community Safety Partnership Board. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot for us to be looking forward to around the intervention work and changing behaviours, and that's what we're really going to be focusing on during 2026.
Lorna, great to hear from you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, and we'll catch up next year.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for making it to the end of the Manx Radio Newscast. You are obviously someone with exquisite taste. May I politely suggest you might want to subscribe to this and a wide range of Manx Radio podcasts at your favourite podcast provider, so our best bits will magically appear on your smartphone. Thank you.